Hello and welcome to another devlog for my game Embers of Empire. I am doing my September devlog update today rather than next week. I'm just not sure I'm going to have time, so I'm going to show you what I've been up to, and I can kind of explain, but things are a little bit crazy in the game, so here we go. Alright, so I've added a few things. I've added a 3D third-person view. And I've also curiously added some bars on the side. Of course, all this UI is not very, game ready or whatever, but I have added guns and shield, basically, or some sort of programmatic version of that. And I've added some AI that are able to chase you and fight back and run away. Very simple though, no behavior trees or anything like that. It's all just done in Blueprint. There's a little bit of sound, obviously. It gets loud as you go through, but you can get hit. It's hard to fight into the sun here. So I'm using my I was using the inertia slide mode there. Alright, I think there's one more AI here. Yeah. I think he just went through me. Okay. Ooh, okay. So I think we're safe now. Alright, so that was kind of a demo of what I've been working on. I've basically been adding the combat features to the game. So you can see on the side of the cockpit here, we've got the guns, and I don't know if you can see them here. They're just kind of alongside the ship right now. Still working on how to place them and not have them like shoot the ship and stuff like that. And then I've got a little fancy third to first person camera animation. The guns are used with attachments, so I can show you kind of what's going on here. Let's go into our game folder and our weapons folder here. And so I just have this BP weapon, which will eventually serve as kind of a base weapon. Some of the event graphs are going to be still a little bit crazy. I'm still working at refactoring. This one's actually not too bad. Basically all it does is hide the muzzle flash when you start. But this is what the gun kind of looks like. I've just made a model of it out of just primitives. And then the muzzle flash is actually just a couple planes that are kind of a bright orange. So what does this do? Well, it has a bunch of different things. The main script is this fire script. So every gun that you attach to your ship has a fire script like this. It's got kind of a fire rate, like how many projectiles can it fire per second. It also has an alternating fire style, so you can either do both. If you have multiple barrels on the gun, you can have two shots instead of one, or you can shoot one and then the other. Like a Gatling gun, you might shoot different barrels. And then it loops through and spawns however many projectile points we have, and spawns projectile. And then actually, when we do spawn the projectile, guns can have a muzzle velocity modifier, and so you can make the projectiles go faster than what they're set up for. There was the ability to modify base damage, armor damage, shield damage, and subsystem damage, but I haven't quite implemented that yet. mainly because it's kind of built into the projectile stuff now, the modifiers. So, so I'm not sure if the guns will do that in the future. But anyway, this also just sets a timer to hide muzzle flash, which hides muzzle flash. Got a couple other things here, like you know, when you're holding down the trigger, we have kind of a timer here to check whether you're firing and stuff. But the firing actually has its own kind of timer that's not like one of the Unreal timers. Partly because it's I had some trouble with kind of when to call that function to stop the timer and things like that. So yeah, so we just clear the check firing. All right, so how does that work? Okay, so you can see we have a projectile here, and the projectile has this set velocity thing, so we can add our speed modifier here for our muzzle velocity if we want to increase how fast the gun can shoot, or how fast the projectiles go. It also has this explode function, which currently I just have it this particular projectile, which will also be a base. It currently just shoots out sparks instead of like big explosions until the actual ship explodes, and then there's a big explosion. And then we have like a speed modifier and base damage for this one. We also have a damage type, and that's how I have the modifications right now. So so this one is DT arm 20, and I have some I've modified the base of damage types to add these like shield modifiers and armor damage and subsystem modifiers. So this one's armor penetrating, so it has a 20% buff to the armor damage. That's how that works. And what else can I look at? We can look at the ships. So the ship is still a work in progress, but I have this base ship now, and the event graph is going back and forth between being crazy and being nice. Some of this stuff is like sound stuff that I was adding, and then our damage thing I'm still working on, so that's why it looks like a big mess. Basically what's happening here is it's just checking your shields and your armor, and then if you are out of if your armor goes all the way down, then you explode. And if you're just taking shield damage, you're just getting like a camera shake and hit flash, which is the UI like red that displays. But there is a kind of a cool thing here with the guns, which I'm planning on using for kind of all different attachments. But so in this event graph, we have kind of some simple stuff here. Some stuff should only happen when the player is going. But these equip the weapons, so there's an equip weapon function and a weapon class that you can set, so I can put these in an array or some sort of like table for different types of ships or whatever, and then we can equip them to the ship. And what that does is it gets an array of attachment points, which are hard points on the ship, and then we feed that attachment ID into here. Again, we could do some sort of array for where the attachment should go, and then it pulls from this weapon array here, or it adds to this weapon array here. So we have like a list of like what weapons we're adding to our actor, and we're just spawning it and then attaching it, and you'll see this viewport. This base ship doesn't even have wings or anything. It's just one base ship class, so I can swap it out with like a main one or whatever. And then it has a separate cockpit mesh. But here are my attachment points here along the side. So this is where they would spawn in the guns. And I think if I click simulate, you can see it just adds them there like that. Yeah, so that's kind of what the equip thing does. But we can use this to attach all sorts of stuff. And then if we go back to our event graph, you'll see with our so here's our input action for firing weapons. So if you click the left mouse button, we're gonna like loop through our array of weapons that we had already attached, and we're gonna fire them. This is like basically set for kind of all the primary guns that you've attached to the ship. Haven't done secondaries yet or anything. But it loops through, starts firing, calls the start firing function, which is on the specific weapon, and then it does a little bit of camera shake for the ship. And same thing with release, that just loops through and calls the stop firing, which will clear the timer stuff. And yeah, so yeah, that's kind of the main stuff there, I think. And yeah, I don't know. I could show the AI, but it's not like really great. It's really a mess. Yeah, it's a real mess right now. So this is what the AI looks like here. So there's a couple things that are going on. Basically, the ship is, we're not using a behavior tree or anything like that. It's just programmed to do two things. Basically, it's going to kind of randomly choose between chasing the player and finding a random waypoint. And so it changes targets and things like that, and then it equips the weapons just like the other ship. Yeah, and then it has a control script where it will update the throttle if it's not close to the target yet, or if it's not set to the max throttle, which I have at 0.8 here. And then it will try to find where the target is, so it's going to check whether it's to the right, whether it's forward, and whether it's up. And then based on those things, it will actually adjust the yaw and the pitch. And then if it detects that it's in front, it will start firing weapons. All right. Yeah, and yeah, this was kind of an interesting thing. I think I posted about it on Twitter, but how do you know if something's to the left or to the right? So we're using like a dot product here to do that. And yeah, that's kind of the main interesting stuff. So you can see they start firing like right away. I also worked on these explosions, still kind of placeholder, but I have it set up so that it will shoot out little pieces of the ship. Right now it's just like a wing and the body and then a bunch of chunks. You can see when I get hit, start to so some of it's actually, oh, look at that. So I got destroyed. And that will cause a bunch of errors because we just blew up the player. And a lot of things still require the player to be alive, so that will probably change because we'll have to switch out of a specific ship and things like that. So we'll need a player controller or something that will continue to live. Ooh, getting attacked from above. So we definitely need a radar. All right. And that's about it. So hope you enjoyed this update, and I'll see you all soon.